I'll apologise now in case you can hear my little Onyx cat crying. He appears to want to go back outside, but he's literally just come in, so you are not going back out right now. You can wait a little bit longer. Oh my god, he's jumping up. Okay. Gotta show you this. Onyx. Yeah, you know you're being naughty. Look how tall he is. Hi guys, today I am going to be doing my wrap up of the June's yearathon. If you didn't know, that was going on from the 1st to the 7th. I've got my TBR down below in case you want to watch that, I don't know, to see what I had what I had hoped to get read in that week. So this month's theme was catch up finish series. So I had, well, you'll see what I had planned to get caught up on or finish in my TBR, if you've seen that. If you haven't seen that, again, it's linked down below. But yeah, I'm just going to quickly talk you through, well, read you through, because I've got better notes written down, so sorry if I'm glancing down. What I managed to read on the day, because I wanted to kind of do a little vlog compilation thing that I've seen people like Little Book Owl do, but I don't know, I didn't really have time to do that, so I thought I'd just explain it all in this video as well as wrap up and other stuff. I want to apologise again because my maths isn't my strong point, so the tally might come up a little bit wrong, but hopefully it's not. So Game of Thrones was kind of my main thing to kind of at least get started with. So my starting point already before the readathon began was 164 pages. By the end of the day I managed to read up to 314. So the total pages read for day one was 150. So I was really proud of that. I obviously seemed to really dive in just to make a big impact, big dent for the readathon and to kind of get like a good start on A Game of Thrones. On day two, I ended up completing volume 3 of Rosaria Vampire by Akihisa Aikada. I can't pronounce that. And just so you know, the number of pages seem to be calculated differently for Rosaria Vampire because I read it on mangareader.net, and comparing to Goodreads, they have different kind of amount of how many pages there are. So just so you know, I'm going with the Goodreads calculation of pages. So for Game of Thrones, I managed to get to 340 pages in that day. That meant the total of Game of Thrones pages that I read on that day was 26 pages. So a little bit slower, a little bit less done. But then again, I did complete volume 3 of a manga, and the total pages of that counts as 210, so my total page count of the day was 236. So on day 3 I stopped the manga for a bit and tried to focus a bit more on Game of Thrones. Doing this took me up to 396 pages, so the total page count of that day was 56 pages, and I was pretty pleased with that because I think that was the day where I was kind of busy as well, so I managed to get a good amount of reading in for A Game of Thrones because I probably took it out with me or something. So for day 4, I managed to complete 2 volumes of Rosaria Vampire, so I completed volume 4 and volume 5, and I also continued A Game of Thrones a little bit more, so that took me up to 409 pages. So the total pages read for volume 4 of Rosaria Vampire was 210, total pages read for volume 5 was 208, total pages read for Game of Thrones was 13, and the total page count of the day came to 431. So not too bad there. I was glad that I managed to get 2 whole volumes finished and get some good reading done for A Game of Thrones. So day 5, again, I just focused solely on A Game of Thrones, which I'd done for the last remainder of the readathon. I got up to 446 pages, and that meant that the total page count of the day was 37. So you can kind of see so far it's kind of dipping and rising here and there. So day 6 was kind of like, I'm going to call it my bad day because as I said, I hadn't read any manga on this day as well as on the last day, and I just kind of read A Game of Thrones again. I didn't really get much reading done because I was out, I was busy. I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I know I was out and about, maybe with my mum or friends or college or something. So I got to 463 pages, and that meant my total page count of the day was 17, so it wasn't too much at all, but you know, it's still some reading done. And on the last day, day 7, I got up to page 533, so I managed to get 70 pages read as a total count of that day because I was at my nan's for quite a lot of the time before I was going to a barbecue. So I read for I think 3 hours straight, and then of course I read a few more pages when I got home in the evening, but it wasn't too much. I think I read 3 chapters because I was quite tired, and that's where it got me. So a really nice big impact for the finale of the readathon. So let's have a little talk about it. So my overall page count came up to 997 pages, if my calculations are right. So I'm really pleased that I managed to get that much read. I never usually count the pages that I read, like I don't tally it or anything. So it was really cool doing this readathon and seeing how many pages I did read at the end of the week. It's really cool. I didn't think I'd read that much, but wow, that's such a big number. I know people have gotten like bigger, but for me, it's like an accomplishment. I managed to complete 3 books, which were technically volumes in manga, but you know, it still counts as a book. So I managed to complete 3 of those, which is good. So I'm on my way to finishing Rosario Vampire eventually, almost. And even though I didn't finish a Game of Thrones or get on to the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix, I'm very proud of how much I did. Like I've got like maybe a third of the way to go now, which I'll probably get done in 2 to 3 days maybe. But I'm glad that I got a really big dent into this series, and it's like kicked me off with a good start. So now I'm just going to give some mini reviews on the completed volumes of Rosario Vampire. Don't worry, it's going to be spoiler free in case you haven't seen it, in case you haven't read them. But if you're interested in Rosario Vampire and you've like read a lot of the series, or you've completed the series and you want to know my thoughts in a bit more detail, still without spoilers I believe, you can check out my Goodreads page because I've got a bit more detailed reviews, and my Goodreads page is linked down below if you want to see that. So for volume 3 of Rosario Vampire, I just stuttered, I ended up giving it 3 stars because in the very beginning, like the first chapter, I was kind of disconnected from all the characters. I didn't really have like they didn't have like an influence on me, but yeah, that soon changed. Like as soon as I remembered how batshit insane it got, I was like, right, I'm gripped, I am invested in this, this is great. So even though it didn't have much of a plot this time, it was cool seeing a well-known major villain, like at the time in that part in the series, come back, and it was just cool to see everybody in the newspaper club helping Skune, saving him and stuff, and even though, as I said, it was a lack of plot, it was still interesting to see what was going on, and also an arrival of a new villain. I do find that each chapter is like completely different. It doesn't relate to anything. It's kind of resolved, and then it's a completely new chapter within the same volume. So it's a little bit tedious to get through there, but I still enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and yeah. The next volume, volume 4, I gave 4 stars. It's like I'm giving a star for each of the volume, but I'm not really doing like that. This one did not fail to disappoint me. It was exciting. It made me want to read more. We're introduced to a new character who's much like Yukari, our little friend here, our little witch friend. It's cool to see how Ruby, the new character, she's brought in. It's cool to see how and why she acts the way she does, without spoiling anything. It's like a struggle that she has going on, and she's kind of finding it difficult to overcome those struggles. But, you know, we get there in the end, and at least we know why she is how she is. I noticed that the art style in this series just seems to keep getting better and better. Like with every volume that comes out, you can definitely see the progress coming through, and the story, like the actual writing, gets slightly better as well, even though it's not the strongest like series, you know, in terms of, you know, fantasy manga. It's still enjoyable to read, and this volume is one of the best that I've read so far. Lastly, volume 5, I gave 4 stars again. I want to make like a really random point. I noticed that Nakomi sensei, if that's how you pronounce it, she's a cat, right? And I've got a teacher. I study animal management, if you guys don't know. One of my teachers, who teaches me part of the animal management criteria, she's called Cat, and they act exactly the same. So it's just like, it was like a mind-blowing moment where I was like, oh my god, you're just like my teacher. If you were real, it would be her. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because I thought it was really funny, and I was like tweeting it, Facebooking it, Instagramming it probably. It was one of those moments where it was like, wow, no one else is going to care about this, but wow. As usual, there's a lot more battles. You actually see Skune taking his toll on what Mocha's been doing to him, so it's cool that you're actually seeing an effect happening to Skune in this one, because before it was like, I don't want to spoil it, something happened and then he'd be fine after the whole ordeal finished and he wouldn't remember anything, but it's getting to him now and he still doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, as usual, a new character's introduced. It's bad for a while, turns out to be alright, not too bad. This particular character I remember really loving when I read it like times before, but for some reason this time she just didn't sit well with me. She's more creepy and irritating than I remember her being, but I don't know, maybe it's something she does later on in the series, I can't really remember. That's why I liked her at the time, but I don't know, maybe I've just grown out of her. So generally about this readathon, I've really enjoyed it. As I've said before, it's like the first proper readathon I've done, like here on book 2. I really enjoyed it. I think I understood it alright. I'm glad with how many books like I got through, or like page count wise and stuff like that, and I'll definitely be trying another readathon, whether it's next month's yearathon or someone else's. I'm sorry that I don't know who curated this, but I'll have links to the AYEARATHON Goodreads page. I hope you enjoyed watching this. This one was a little bit stumbly, but sorry about that. So I shall speak to you in another video soon. Bye!